I am Thor, son of Odin, and as long as there is life in my breast, I am running out of things to say.
Great, another broken white boy for us to fix.
That's my secret, Cat.
I'm always angry.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are. With great power comes great responsibility. I can do this all day.
Wakanda forever!
And welcome, Internet, to another episode of Views from the 616, the blackest MCU podcast in the multiverse, powered by For All Nerds, where we discuss everything in the MCU from the perspective of people of color. And it is one of your hosts, Tatiana King, a.k.a. the Book of Ashanti, a.k.a. T'Challa Bread, Clandestines Child, Tesseract Thompson, Schrodinger's Cat, Agatha Darkness is spreading, Doc Aki, and Dr. Doing Something Strange for some change. And as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host.
It's your boy, DJ Ben Amin, a.k.a. Yippee-Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon, a pimp named Sam Wilson, the Power Toker, John, walk it out, walk it out, Blatu the Black Watcher, Armand Duquesne the Fifth, the Long Swordsman, NBA Youngboy Never Blipped Again.
Yes, my fave.
Yes.
And welcome back, everyone. We are here to talk the finale, last episode of, as they're calling it, because to try to trick us, the limited series of Miss Marvel. We're hoping there's going to be a season 2, but we have no idea. But we are at the end of things. And just like all good things, unfortunately, they must come to an end. But that doesn't mean that's the end of good things. It's just the end of how that good thing was presented. And I say that because we're going to switch it up on y'all a little bit, okay? The way we're doing this last episode is not going to be as long as you guys are used to. It's not going to be as, how do I say that, granular as you're used to. But we're still going to give you the goods. We're still going to give you our thoughts and understanding of the episode. We're still going to give you some larger overarching themes. And just give it to you straight, man. No chaser, right, Ben? I mean?
Yeah, we just don't get right into it. You know, we feel that we've been a bit too, I don't want to say in-depth because that's what we're about here.
Yeah.
You know, we're about breaking it down to the very last compound. But at the same time,
we have limited time.
There we go.
You
and
guys
we feel
have
that
limited
y'all
time
do
to
too.
listen.
You know what I mean? Like, come
we
on
wanna,
now.
And we recognize that. And we've talked to you all about this before, about our podcasts in general, right? For All Nerds, but with all the other podcasts we've done, the best thing about a project, especially when you love it, is you want to iterate, you want to improve, you want to refine. So as we continue, like sometimes there'll be changes to our show, there'll be changes to some formats. We do want to still hear from you, give us feedback about what you think, you like it, you love it. Any suggestions, that's fine. But we're going to do things just a little bit differently for this finale episode. And then going forward, we're going to continue to do things a little bit differently. But as Ben Amin said, that doesn't mean we're going to stop giving you the goods, because we're just going to present it in different ways, right? So you're going to see a lot more content in different places in different ways. So you'll get that.
Yes. There we go.
All right. So we're not going to waste any more time. Let's get right into it. This is the finale episode of Miss Marvel, titled No Normal. I just want to give a caveat that Miss Marvel is now at 98% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. It is the highest rated Marvel show in the land. I don't know if is it higher than any MCU films, or is it just the highest rated Marvel project, period?
I mean, 98% is pretty high. I'm sure
It's
like
pretty
Infinity
freaking high.
War and stuff like that is
Has
up there.
Endgame got 99, 98, 99%?
It should.
It should be 100%, to be quite honest with you. But
a lot of people have problems with Endgame, but I love Infinity War, so, you know.
I don't want to hear it. Endgame, 100% for me. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Highest rated show, Miss Marvel. We told y'all back in May when we got to see it early that this was the one to watch, and we were not fucking around. Thank you to another caveat or another note. Thank you so much to Bishop K. Ali, who is the head writer of Miss Marvel. If you are a part of our Patreon fam, and you absolutely should be, patreon.com/forallnerds, you would have seen that you are getting or have already gotten the episode of our interview with her earlier than everyone. When I say everyone, I mean the entirety of the world. Only Patreon subscribers have that first. And then soon enough, everyone else is going to be able to listen to this really, really fire interview. We had so much fun. Bisha is amazing. She's so genuine and so funny. And we really hope you enjoy it.
Yep.
All right, Ben.
Yes.
So like I said, we're gonna do these a little bit differently. We're just gonna talk about overall feelings. How do we feel about this episode and the series in general?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me.
Overall, we talked to Bishop this week. A lot of things were said on that episode about how we felt about it. But overall, I really enjoyed this. Like, I had some issues. I've seen on YouTube, there's been some people saying, oh my God, y'all just around this show. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, dog. But yeah, I had issues, and we'll talk about that. Like, that's part of our new format is we're going to talk about 2 things we love and 2 things we disliked. Good, the bad, the ugly, as it were. And yeah, there was some ugly, but overall, the good just far outweighed everything else. I really can't say much bad about it. Yeah. Because I really enjoyed the show, and I really thought it stayed tonally on point. Like, I know, like, a lot, well, not a lot, but I've seen some people complaining about this last episode and how it turned into Home Alone or whatever. And I'm like, but that was the show from the beginning. It was always a team-driven show. Changed. So, yeah.
That never
changed.
Great time. Overall, I see my lineup of top 3 or top 2. I don't know which way we're doing that. My lineup of top 3 MCU films, or excuse me, MCU TV shows. So Disney Plus shows have changed considerably. This is my number 1.
Wow.
This is my number 1, and I'll explain what I mean by that. When you're talking about a fully comprehensive show that is executed almost flawlessly from the beginning, with generally no questions asked from me, I think you've done quite a service to both myself and others. I felt that way about Loki, where I was just like, oh, this is great. But then, there's always something, this, as Carisha would say, there's got to be something about a lot of these shows where you're just like, I don't know about that, bro. But I like Loki because I've already liked Loki. Like, Loki could just be fucking standing there smoking a J, and I would be like, oh, this is the greatest thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not doing shit. This did the work. This put me in a space of learning. This put me in a space of acceptance and understanding. I've already had acceptance and understanding, but even more so because, as Bisha and her team was explaining, this is highly personal, and it felt that way and seeped through every scene and every piece of dialogue. And so just when we're just talking about a fully outstanding project all across the board, I think this might be my number 1 Disney Plus show, with Loki a strong follow, and then What If. Those are probably going to continue to be my top 3.
All right. I would still say Loki might be my number 1 still, because I just feel like Loki got everything. I do, like we talked about before on previous episodes, Ms. Marvel had a lot more to handle than Loki, at least culturally and stuff. And so I give it to that for that. And so they're neck and neck. And then my number 2 or 3 is probably Falcon and Winter Soldier at this point.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yeah. I really.
Why? I'm trying to understand, because I'm trying to think. Is it because of the whole thing with bringing in, and I apologize, I forgot the actor's name, but bringing in the original black super soldier and all that stuff. And
Isaiah Bradley.
Isaiah Bradley, thank you. And just trying to address that.
Yeah.
First of all, his first name is Carl. He should have got nominated for Best Supporting Actor in that.
Yes.
That pissed me off and still continues to piss me off to that day. But
damn
whatever.
Sure does. And so yeah, Isaiah Bradley coming in, his storyline, Falcon and Winter Soldier, their storyline. As much as I ragged on the Flag Smashers, them, I still love them.
You ragged a lot on them.
I know, but I still love them. That's the thing. I was never like, and me. Come on, man. U.S. agent, baby.
Bucky, do not try to be friends of the father of the guy that you killed.
John, walk it out, baby. You know what I'm about. So
that nigga, my God, he's annoying.
Loved him. Loved it. So yeah, that's definitely my number 2. Yep.
All right. So we have our overall views about how we feel, how it stands generally. You said we're going to talk about the 2 things the 2 kind of greater themes that we felt this series exhibited, and also particularly this episode,
or that we just loved. Not even
sure.
Yeah. Not even to show it, what we felt about it.
For me, with this finale episode and how it wrapped up everything, because remember, it's funny, episode 5, I said, oh, well, I felt like they did everything, with the exception of how the Nakia stuff would be wrapped up, how, the friendship would be fixed or mended or whatever. I was like, what else can we talk about? I don't care. But it's funny enough, they gave me a lot to wrap up and also gave me what I asked for. So when I said about episode 5, like you and I were like, oh, did we want more of in the show? We were like, well, we would have cared if they went back to the school or centered more around the kids being in school and her interactions, being a teenager in high school and doing all this stuff, right? I did read an article where Bishop actually explained that. And she said that, that's just not the show she wanted to write, right? Like it was more this whole thing, and it's where I'm going to mention too, was about exploring oneself, finding oneself, and a connection with family and culture and heritage. And because of that required Kamala to go outside. And when I say outside, I mean outside of the confines of a high school, outside of Jersey City, even outside of all of that. It required her to go outside of herself. It required her to understand who she is as a person, as an upcoming hero, and all this other stuff. And also as a daughter and as a granddaughter, and the connection to Aisha and Sana and Muniba. So for me, that main thing that I really love, that theme of finding oneself in family. Specifically, to give you an understanding, an example, like her costume. Her costume is such a cultural artifact in and of itself. It's made of different parts of pieces given to her by people who are significant or have become significant into her life, right? I mentioned you have the scarf from Nakia. You have her necklace that I assume her parents gave her, or maybe maybe her brother, that the piece of her necklace, right? That ended up breaking into the Miss Marvel lightning bolt. That was her name. You have pieces. You have the vest that was from Waleed before he presumably passed away. Like you have all these different disparate pieces, or seemingly disparate pieces, that are now come together by her mother, and her mother built it together to make this fire costume. And I also was like, damn, her production value went sky high, because that little Hulk costume was a little funny style to me. Like, I know she was just trying to keep Kamala within the culture and keep her modest, but I was just like, I don't know, Ma. That was looking kind of, I don't know, it was looking kind of costume central to me. Like, but then this new, this actual suit looked like top notch.
Well, Nakia made a comment on that. She said, is that from Pakistan? Because she was like, the stitching is very fire.
That was Pakistan quality, like straight from there. So I was like, okay, Mom's really up to her game. Or, maybe she instituted the services of a local tailor or whatever. Or like you said, maybe she did it right before they left, because the costume was in a toffee box. Mm-hmm. And again, another nod to the connection between Muniba, her mother, Sana, and all of that.
Yep.
Yeah. And as I said, that costume is reflective of culture. It's reflective of faith. It's reflective of love between the mother, but also of her family and everything, all the intergenerational knowledge and wisdom and love that has been passed down to Kamala. The fact that her dad gave her name, and technically gave her a name twice, and both her mom and her father named her, but her dad is the one who gives her now government name of Miss Marvel, right? He explained to her when they were sitting on the roof of their house that Kamal, the piece of Kamala's name, or the masculine form, means marvel or wonder in Urdu. And it also, I think it was Arabic, it means perfection. And the reason why they named Kamala that is because both Yusef and Muniba, they tried for a very, as he said, very long time to have another child. And unfortunately, it wasn't happening for them. It was quiet for them for a long time. They didn't think it was going to happen. Then lo and behold, like a miracle, like a wonder, here comes Kamala, beautiful, perfect Kamala. You know how parents are, right? They're like, this is everything we ever wanted was here. And have another child after her brother Amir. So the fact that you can see that history of that name being directly employed into her superhero alias, I just thought that was beautiful.
All right. Well, same thing with me. One of the things that I really loved about this episode and this whole series is, like you said, because we felt like it was kind of all wrapped up by the end of episode 5. But then with this episode, everything, all the themes that we've been talking about throughout this review series all came full circle. And I just love to see it. Like, one moment that just really got me was when her parents are sitting on the couch with her talking about, can she go out and be a superhero now? And her mom, Muniba, right, is like, yeah, we trust her. Of course, go ahead. And in the first episode, they're sitting on the couch, and she just wants to go to Avengers Con, and they're like, no. She's like, no, I don't trust you. Well, no, she says, I don't trust you, and the dad's like, no. And he's like, no. She's like, no, I don't trust you. So that was great.
funny enough, the circumstances, I mean, obviously a lot have changed, but the circumstances are different, right? And it's like when she was going to AvengerCon, she was going to represent a copy of Carol Danvers, of Miss Marvel, right? She was cosplaying, she was trying to be like somebody else, right? And I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just saying in context of the show and what this show is about. She was going to reflect someone else. Whereas now she's going out there to represent herself and represent her culture, her family. So yes, there's trust there. It's because now you found who you are. And now you're out there to represent who Kamala Khan is. So,
and that was another thing with that same thing is like when the whole no normal is what she tells Cameron is that there's no normal. You know, he's like, they'll never look at us as normal. They'll never treat us as normal. And she's now accepted that, oh, well, that's what it is.
Triple entendre.
Yep.
Triple entendre. Being, you know, having them have Muslim faith and all this other stuff and being in America, you know.
Yep. And that's like, she's like, oh, well, that's what it is. You know, it's always been like that for me. And then that even ties into the other thing that I loved about this episode was a really big little see, I'm caught up on the words because revelation, because the mutants and Kamala being the first mutant in the 616 MCU.
Yeah. And Bishop said that wasn't planned, right? That's kind of came last minute. The episodes were already written, and Kevin Feige, he came in that bitch and was like, hey, yo, you want to say this? And they were like, wow, that's fantastic. Or as Bishop said, that was delicious. So she was very happy that they were able to be that inclusion, but also, as you say, be the first to do that, because now it's fully, I mean, even though there's been all these street words and street talk, this is now fully canon that we've now entered into the age of mutants or potential coming of mutants.
Yep. And I just love that because one, it's like before, the reason why the Kamala in the comics is an Inhuman is because at the time Marvel didn't have the rights to mutants and the X-Men, and so they were moving away and tried to push the Inhumans. And, you know, they tried to make Inhuman happen, and it didn't happen.
So what happened with that wig girl was not it.
Yeah, you know, Fetch didn't happen. And so they kept trying. It didn't work out. And so now that they have the rights back to the mutants, they're like, F it. Let's just go ahead and make her a mutant instead of using the Inhuman because we really want to move away from that. Even though that reasoning behind that blue arm in the cave, we still don't know what's that about. Is that Kree?
And I tried, y'all. I asked the question, and right away, Bishop was like, you know, I can't answer that. So I tried, y'all.
And the thing about that is the Kree in the comics and the Eternals, all of them are involved in the creation of not just the Inhumans, but also mutants on Earth. Because they're messing around with DNA back in the day that leads to mutants coming out in the 1970s when man starts doing atomic testing and everything. So there's still a potential connection there. So I loved all of that. And that was just really dope. I mean, hearing that song, you know, I was screaming too much to hear it the first time. The second time I watched the episode, that was really dope. That was a great moment.
The song Ben is talking about is actually an Easter egg. We hear the original 90s X-Men, Fox Kids, X-Men.
Did you know that it fits with I'm Your Baby Tonight by Whitney Houston?
Yeah, I heard. They said that's actually the same melody and everything.
I saw it on YouTube this week. I
saw it on TikTok like last year or so, and I was just like, what?
Wow.
And it works.
And I also found out that Whitney Houston sang I'm Your Baby Tonight in one take because she wanted to get to the mall. And she
wanted to get the fuck out of there. Very good. One point I wanted to mention, you brought it up when they were sitting on the couch. The family was sitting on the couch. I love that conversation. And it's so real indicative of a lot of families where Kamala was basically, it was almost like she was just like, okay, so I'm a superhero. And they were like, we know. Yeah. Because the mother told the father using, listening to the business on his speakerphone. Of course, the brother overhears. The brother gonna tell his wife. The whole that's what it is, right? It's a game of telephone, but everyone finds out your business somewhere or another. If you tell one family member, everybody gonna know. So I just thought that was very fitting, and I loved it. And also, yes, the parents had to see it to believe it too. So.
Oh man, ain't that the truth? And the actress who played Maniba was so great during that scene.
Zenobia Shroff, yeah.
She's sitting there looking dead ahead, like I already told this shit, but I'm gonna act like this.
Yeah, she was acting like she didn't know what was going on. She's like, Yeah. And the last point of like what I really loved and appreciated about this episode and of the show overall is the aspect of culture and community, and the culture and the community coming together to protect their loved ones, to protect people, whether they're blood related or not. They're part of your family, right? Your extended family. You saw that every time they went to the masjid. There's always every time they walked in there until it was disrespected by damage control. But whenever they weren't in there, I always felt a sense of calm and peace and protection. And, you know, I mean, yes, as a house of worship and faith, but it's also a place for family and the understanding that you have some place you can belong to. That's what Muniba mentioned when she said when she first got to America, she ain't had shit, she ain't had nobody. But when she found the mosque and when she found all this stuff, she felt a sense of family and belonging. And that gets repeated all throughout. Like when it comes from the beginning, when Kamala essentially feels that she doesn't have that, to the very end when it's clear that everyone has her back, literally and figuratively, but literally. At the very end scene when they're Kamran's trying to get away and the community surrounds Kamala to try to protect her from the DODC. So I just love that. And also the idea that she's not an outsider anymore. And I say that also figuratively because the beginning of this episode, you saw her. She's getting hit. We said this a lot. She's getting hit with the dodgeballs. People not talking to her. People not respecting her how she moved. Just she's like the outcast nerd that has 2 friends. She has 2 subscribers on her YouTube account. Like stuff that is like very like, yo, she hasn't found who she is yet, but she's growing up. And you see her grow up in real time. You see her learn how to use her powers in real time. You see the training montage that you would see in a few seconds. You see that happen over the course of 6 hours. Because that's really what this series is. And as I said at the end, most people are coming to protect her, or coming to accept her and you know, try to help uplift her. So she's not quite an outsider anymore.
All right. While I did love all the family coming together, I did have some issues with this scene. And just the whole all cops aren't bastards theme of this episode.
Oh, you mean like the ones that were trying to help her, the Jersey City cops that all of a sudden was like,
not just the Jersey City cops. There was also our damage control cop who wasn't like, you know, he was like, oh, turn yourself in, you did it bad, you know.
Right. Yeah. Well, for the record, I don't think it's because he felt morally obligated, like, oh, this. He didn't want the DOC to look bad.
No, that's fine. And he's still, you know, a bastard cop, which works for me. But the other cops being like, you know, coming together, and I get it, you know, that would happen also. Cops don't always mess with government agents, etc. You know, different agencies don't mess with each other. But, you know, and I'm not blaming anyone involved in the show because I just know that's going to come from the upper levels. You know, that's just something that Marvel, and I think we need to actually do a show about this at some point, is how Marvel does support the military-industrial complex, you know, and that's something that needs to be discussed. And that's why I was like, I don't know. But,
you saw that coming a mile away, though.
I mean, because you're going to see it coming in every Marvel episode production ever. They're always going to be on the side that cops are good and the military is great. That is never going to, you know, in the end, that's what it's trying to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Ben, you mentioned a couple of your 2 things that you liked about the series already. You talked about New Mutants and the trust that Kamala now has, or that her mom now has in Kamala. You have one more here that you wanted to mention.
Yes, I did. It is the nega bands.
Nega bands.
I won't say it that many times because it's rough. But nega bands are they come from the comics. We talked about this a lot throughout our reviews, and they're usually worn by a character, the original Captain Marvel, the Kree alien who wears these bands, and they increase his power and everything, give him all this different stuff. But how they relate to this episode is one of the things he does with the bands. When he strikes the bands together, him and his character, Rick Jones, who is a human being who has been the sidekick to pretty much every superhero at one point. And at this point, he's Captain Marvel's sidekick. But when he would strike the bands together, they would switch places. One of them would be on Earth, and the other would be trapped in the negative zone. And we've yet to see the negative zone in the MCU.
It hasn't been discovered in canonically yet.
Yes,
in MCU
but what we see at the end of this episode is Kamala vanish and Captain Marvel appear in her place after the band starts, you know, woman. So what the theory is that in the Marvel's film that's coming up, Carol Danvers finds the other band, even though this theory is kind of shaky right here because she's not wearing the bands when she appears, or the other band. But she causes something to happen where she was in the negative zone, and then Kamala is going to be sent into the negative zone. So that's why Carol appears in her room.
That's the theory, that Carol was in the negative zone?
Yep. And so this idea is that this happened somewhere, towards once the movie has already gotten going. So we're going to see Carol Danvers doing whatever she's doing. She could end up in the negative zone, won't find a band or something that switches them together. Bam. All right, now here's the other part of this theory and about Shang-Chi and how it all connects is that, we saw those bands in there at the end of it, the film, in the post-credit scene where it's revealed that the bands are emitting a signal drawing something. We don't know what. In the comic books, these two things are connected with the Kree and every other alien race in this event called the Annihilation event. I think it's called, I can't remember what the actual name of the event was called, but there's an annihilation wave led by this character, Annihilus. I got it right this time, Tatiana? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Annihilus. Mm-hmm. And he's this alien bug creature, and he leads this thing called the Annihilation Wave, which is like billions of alien bug creatures, and they just sweep through the universe, destroying everything in their path. And all the cosmic heroes have to come together to stop it. So that's the theory right now, that we might be seeing Annihilus coming. That might be what this is signaling, is this wave that is now coming to Earth, which might be in Captain Marvel, because we still don't know what the Marvel's villain or what, the story of this film will be.
Right. And that's, unfortunately to me, we mentioned something similar to this, but that's going to be the ongoing struggle for the MCU going forward. What threat is truly a threat at this point? Like, it has to be galaxy-ending levels of things that matter.
It doesn't.
If you're talking about a story when it becomes an ensemble, then yes. If you're talking about individualized stories where it's just like, what is the traumatic event for that individual or whatever, then sure. It doesn't have to be galaxy scale. But I'm just saying, when you start adding extra heroes here and there and people who allegedly have infinite power, it's like, okay, I don't give a fuck if anyone shows up unless that they can end the planet and all 40 million planets next to it. Who cares? Yep. And that's the only thing I just feel like, I just hope that we don't get a situation where we unfortunately have to barrel too quickly to things like Galactus and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, Marvel has infinite amounts of planet-destroying characters, so that's not a problem. I just think the problem will be, it's like...
Well, we see what happened to a god-killing character, so...
Yeah, but and that's the problem to me. If you have like Annihilation Wave and then you have Galactus and you have Thanos, it just becomes, you're going to get worn down where none of these things will have any impact. I don't care how many planets they destroy. Right. Because it's not about that. Like I keep saying, it doesn't, even when you have a galaxy destroying conflict, it still has to matter to your protagonist. Right. Otherwise, it won't matter to your audience.
And to me, that showed, like, for all its faults, Multiverse of Madness, the primary theme, like you said, Wanda's the villain, but it was a conflict that I cared about. Yeah. It was. Yeah. She wants her children. She wants her children. At the end of the day, she wanted that life. She wanted to, and again, regardless of what you felt, regardless of how I felt, at the end of the day, I felt that. Mm-hmm. And I felt the whole stop at nothing to get what I need because I have the ability to do that. Was it selfish? Was it this? Was that? Yeah. But it was a personal conflict that I understood. Yeah, and that it was explained and you had all this background to it.
The problem was we'd already seen that conflict in WandaVision.
That too. All right.
Speaking of things we disliked about Miss Marvel, and conflict is, for me at least, the goofiness of the DODC agents of being able to be taken down by these kids.
They were not serious. I told you that. The Super Max facility, that was not serious. Yeah. The DODC agents were not serious to me. No. These were no better than stormtroopers to me. Like, they just, like, it's just a lot of them. And that's why they end up having any type of authority, because they just bust in with numbers, right? Like, but they're not exactly strategic like they should be. And they use a lot of fucking tech. They use drones. Great. Yeah. Join the club with your homeboy in WandaVision who loves to use drones. Like, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? They don't have, to me, they don't have no real authority. And like I said, and I guess the point is, for the average person, they have authority. Like, when you're just, you don't got powers and you just a 16-year-old kid and someone comes scoop you up, it's like, all right, tell us what's up. Like, yeah, like that's going to be something, right? It's going to feel differently. And really the only real reason that I understood it from stuff I read and just from the way it came off was the DODC, they were really representations of the consistent surveillance states that people of Muslim religious backgrounds have. And people of who, whether they are from South Asia or the Middle East or whatever, anyone who's within that, who's brown, essentially, that how they are treated in this country, and then how they are depicted in Western media and in entertainment and things like that. Is it getting better? Yeah, but is it where it needs to be? No. And the fact is, like, this is happening on a regular basis. It's happening right now at your local masjid. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got it, FBI, whomever, walking in your shit with their shoes on.
And worse.
And worse. And that's what I'm saying. That's what this is reflecting. Like, they were just that representation of these people who don't give a fuck about your community or your culture. And then you're constantly being surveilled on for essentially no reason.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, what about you?
My
Things you didn't like.
I didn't like the clandestines. I didn't like them
Who
niggas
did?
at all. Like, I felt like, okay, we might be doing something in the beginning when
I knew right away.
you knew right away.
There was you can look, check the tape.
But when
I
Nacho
called
was lying and being like, just making all these stories.
As-
All right.
Once we got past the episode when she was in the back of the car, like I was like, ooh, okay, this is about to be popping. And in the very next episode, I was like, no, but ain't.
Yeah, they fell flat. to me.
Wrong.
And then we now have a reason why they fell flat. I found out. There were huge swaths of backstory and scenes that were cut from the final showing of Miss Marvel. That were about the clandestines.
Wait, what?
Yes. And in Miss Marvel, there were huge pieces of backstory scenes and other stuff about the clandestines that was cut from the final product. So there could have been a lot of more explanation and meat to why we should care about them, but it was cut at the end of the day.
Wow.
So we didn't get to, and of course they had the cut for brevity. You only have a certain amount of time. You want to get to the point. But Sana Amina Bisha rather, like they explain that again in some more interviews. They said, they actually had a lot more, and that's something that Bishop wished that people could have seen a lot more of the clandestine backstory. So I think that's the reason why, to me and to you, they fell flat. Because we didn't have any real background, and we were like, why do we care about these niggas? Or maybe you don't care about them, period. But.
Yeah, I don't know if more would have helped. I think less would have helped because when you start doing into that light dimension and all that shit, I was like, this is so silly. And like the fact that yet again here, the world's going to end. It didn't need to be about that. Like all it needed to be about was they need to get home, and then let's say if we don't get home, we're gonna get your family. Then it becomes personal to Kamala, and that stakes I can understand.
And she took that personally.
Yeah, she took that personally. But if not, the world's going to end. I was like, oh, but the world almost just ended. Like nigga, like shit. Like it's just like I was talking about God killer. Like nigga, you were just killing gods. That's not that impressive. Like, so yeah, no, I don't think more would help. Sorry, sorry to everybody involved. Sorry to that man.
Also related to the clandestines, and my second thing that I didn't really care about was how Kamran got his powers.
Nah.
So his mom.
Let's talk about it. I didn't care about Kamran.
Like his mom getting air fried at the Nor border. I was just like, and that transferred the powers to him?
Air fryers are amazing.
I mean, you saw how crispy she got. She got nice and lit.
She was probably all juicy on the inside too.
Like, okay, it was, I don't know, it was just a little corny for me. Like the whole, the love and transfer and Najma with her big eyes, bigger saucers. And,
so
she looked like the emoji, the that emoji with the big eyes with the stars in the eye. That's what it felt like to me.
So is he a mutant too?
I'm going to say they're going to say yeah, because if everything is equal and essentially he has the same power she got, just different color, he's a mutant.
No, okay, but
he's a human. He's a human slash. They're not, and also they're not jinn. They explain they're not jinn, but he's a human slash clandestine being,
but not a mutant. Because that's the thing, mutants their powers aren't triggered by like, somebody saying Cameron,
No,
and
they're
giving them the
triggered.
power.
They're
It's
actually
triggered by
they
DNA.
might be. Actually, they might be if you now
A traumatic experience will wake up your powers.
That's what happened.
True.
That's technically what happened. I still just thought it was. I'm just talking about that whole situation with Najma and how that happened. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't give a fuck about that. But no, that does follow if they're using, and that's another thing. If they're using Fox's way of doing things, that's
from the comics.
But the Fox way is also like they're very specific to show someone dying, right? Like someone on the verge of death. And it's like, oh, the power's awakened, right? What happens when we saw like Magneto as a kid when he's being taken away from his family at Auschwitz, right?
Yeah.
And you see him reaching for them, and then that's when like he's reaching for the iron bar, and the iron bar starts the gate, right? Starts bending.
Straight from the comics, once
right?
again.
Fine, but that's like your mom died, bong, here you go, right? Like that's what I'm talking about. So.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess
whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah, but I hope he's not. That makes it like weaker, you know. But
I mean, it would make sense. And also, my thing is though, you hope he's not. But then, what sense would it make? Then, how do you explain it?
I don't know. She blessed him.
He's the blessing, Ben. A blessing.
Blessings.
He had the Santeria candle and got blessed, my guy. Like no, like he has
Santeria.
As far as we can see. He has the same power as Kamala. Maybe not in Biggin, but he has similar power to her with different colors.
Yeah.
The nigga is essentially the same as Kamala. He is a human / whatever them niggas is hybrid. If you're a human, you have human genes, which can have mutations. Yo ass is a mutant. I'm going to go with that just because it's the easiest thing. I don't want to hear no dumb shit about he got blessed by the genie from Aladdin. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, because what's the name didn't have none of that type powers either. Nope.
Najma, you mean his mother? She had none of that. Remember, they couldn't even access her peoples who were straight from Noor dimension, allegedly. They couldn't even access their powers except for through those little weapons, which didn't make any sense.
That's what I mean. That whole Noor dimension needs to stop because like now it's like she's a mutant who's accessing the Noor dimension. What?
No, she's a Noor who made love with a human. Here come
I'm talking about Kamala. Is now a mutant
Kamala.
who's accessing the Noor dimension. Why not? All right, let's move on.
I'll move it on.
Yeah.
The last point you made, you were talking about the goofiness of the DDoC agents. I don't care what you say. Danvers is a racist bitch.
That goes without saying. We know.
But I had said that. You were like, no, she's not racist. She just hates everybody. Equal opportunity hatred. No, she's also racist.
I said dude hates everybody, and she was probably racist.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's fair.
Yeah. I was like, no, she's pretty racist. Yeah, she was pretty racist from the gate. And he was just a hater.
All right, let's start wrapping up, talking about our Easter eggs and any other last items. Ben, go ahead.
Yes, the opening theme is played. The song is played over the opening theme is Captain Space by Janubi Kargash. And that's played over the opening credits. And I really liked it because, one, the title of the song, Captain Space, which gives you a hint to what's coming for her.
You know who Captain Space is.
Yep, you know. And also I loved it because the drum pattern is reminiscent to me of the same drum pattern that comes from Blinding Lights, which was used in the very first episode. And Blinding Lights takes that pattern from the Aha Take On Me song. So it's like everything coming together for
the 80s, 90s stuff.
The 80s, 90s, to the current times, to her New Jersey, to her Pakistan heritage. Everything coming together for her in this final episode. So I really like that.
Okay.
Yep.
What else we got? We talked about the X-Men theme song.
Mm-hmm.
What else? This very famous moment that has now happened in this series.
Kamala says embiggen, which is now a word in the Webster's dictionary because of this. And embiggen is is a word that was created for her comic book series. And it's what she uses to describe herself when she used her stretching powers and grew into a giant form of herself. She embiggens herself.
The way they showed it on screen, I liked. It was almost like she was wearing an exosuit. Like she was wearing an exosuit of light that she was in there controlling. Like, and it was almost like, it reminded me of like Hulk Buster armor, but it was her power armor. So she would like she had the big shoe feet, whatever, and the fist and all that.
As you can see by my face right here, the only problem I have is like her light powers aren't that original. It's cool, but it's like you've seen them done, as they even made a reference to Green Lantern in this episode when Shorty asked, do you need to recharge? But it looked pretty. But that's the other problem. There's another character in Marvel called Armor. She's an Asian woman, Hisako, I think is her first name. She's part of the X-Men. She's a mutant, and she can generate a glowing suit
Is that really
armor.
a problem if we never see that character?
But I like Hisako. She's awesome.
But didn't know that character existed until you said it. And I'm sure like millions of other people
do justice for... No, okay.
Relax.
Moving on. Also,
no, a lot of people do, but also in the MCU itself, I mean, a lot of people don't. I would never have known.
I know, and she's barely gets no play in House of X right now, so it's tight. G. Willow Wilson, the creator of Miss Marvel, shows up in this episode in the social media montage at the end when they're showing everybody's reactions to Miss Marvel and how they're all loving her. Mm-hmm. And she says something about she looks so familiar, which was really cute.
Really
she's
cute.
The creator.
Yeah, co-creator.
Yeah.
Then I saw you said another kid during that social media montage. He uses 616 as his social media handle.
Yes, and this is the funniest thing that I've heard because someone she had an AMA recently. Asked
Sanaa Amanat?
Yeah, Sanaa had an AMA recently. No, Iman, the actress who plays Miss Marvel.
Iman Vellani.
Iman had an AMA where someone asked her about has she convinced Kevin Feige to go back to the Earth 111 with 9, whatever it was. And she said no. At the premiere of Miss Marvel, she goes to him and is like, it's Earth 11999.
Yeah.
And he's standing across the way from her. And she said he just mouths to her, 616. And she says she thinks about that every night before she goes to sleep.
This is also why I love Iman, because she's a true fan.
Yeah.
And
won't back down.
Will not back down. But she has receipts to back it up.
Yeah, she got receipts. It was
when you got the big boss saying, nah, son, 616.
And when it's views from the 616,
we told y'all.
Yep.
The last one I wanted to mention was, we all mentioned Carol Danvers shows up in the mid-credit scene. A lot of people were asking, even when you first watch it, you're like, did they, did she turn into her? No, they literally switch places. So who you see, and Bishop also confirmed this, who you see is Carol Danvers.
Yep.
Wherever Kamala went, I don't fucking know. Okay, but her bracelet started to her I'm gonna call it a gauntlet, but the bracelet. Essentially kind of like gauntlets, right? Yep. But they started giving off a signal and poof, and we see some weird transfiguration switch up happen. And here's Carol, and she also seems like she knows something is something. She knows she was trying to do something, and something went wrong.
Yep. And I also love that scene because she looks around the room, sees all this fan art of her and everything, and picks up the shard of art, which was a new piece of art drawn specifically by the show by Jamie McKelvey, friend of the show, friend of us. Love him. What up, Jamie? That was great to see.
Yeah. Of Wicked and Divine fame.
Yeah, and
amongst other things.
First time he's drawn Carol Danvers, Brie Larson as Carol Danvers.
Oh yeah. No, it was a beautiful piece of artwork, but for her to she's like, wait a minute, I'm in a room where someone is, clearly a super fan of me, but this is wrong. So she goes running out. And then you get the little note of that Miss Marvel will return in the Marvels, which is going to, at least of now, unless nothing changes, it's going to premiere July 28th, 2023.
Yeah, and Marvels will be directed by Nia DaCosta, who actually directed that little quick scene herself. Yeah, so that was all part of the Marvels production to do that scene.
Excellent. Okay. Yep. I love the insertion.
Yeah.
I don't know if just I was gonna say I don't think we have any more Easter eggs particularly that you haven't seen or talked about a million times already. But just as far as what's coming next, I just want to hope they go deeper into the connection because they made this obvious connection of Kamala's bangles to the 10 rings.
Yeah. I feel like that's definitely coming. I think that's gonna be in the Marvels movie.
Okay, we'll and the fact that they both emit signals to somebody is something. So I want to see how that plays out. What else, Ben?
Well, let's see. That's coming up next. I also want to know how things are going to play out with Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because that's like cosmic, and I don't think we still know who the real villain of that is. I know Adam Warlock is supposed to be in it, and them gold-faced people are gonna be bad, but I don't think they're the villains. And whenever Adam Warlock shows up, that's usually where Annihilus and other people like him start coming around. But next up, I mean, literally 1 month from today.
1 month from today.
Wow.
we have no peace.
No
we have
peace.
no rest.
She-Hulk drops on August 17, 2022. 9 episodes. Not sure the length of every episode. I'm assuming I'm a huge She-Hulk fan. Like, I mean, I'm most Marvel comics fan, but She-Hulk the comic is one of my favorites. There was a run by John Byrne who just did a fantastic job, and it basically was She-Hulk was Deadpool before Deadpool. Like, she talked to the audience. She knew she was in a comic book. They made fun of everything. She would scream at John Byrne for writing a whack issue. It was just really weird and really funny. And I hope they do all that type of stuff in this. And it was like Harvey Birdman type before Harvey Birdman, because she was an attorney defending various weird characters in the Marvel Universe. And that seems to be the route they're going with this. So I'm really looking forward to it. And Tatiana Maslany is one of my favorite actors ever. She's a fucking monster. And like, I mean, a beast on the highest level. Yeah. And I can't wait to see what she does with it.
The CG was looking wonky.
Yeah.
Not gonna hold you.
Not gonna hold you. You know, I saw the greatest tweet about that though. They were like, you can't act like they faked the moon landed and then complain about how the CG on She-Hulk don't look right.
Oh shit.
Real talk there, folks.
Oh man. Oh man. All right, so that has been our review of Miss Marvel episode 6, the final episode, as well as Miss Marvel, the series. Again, we don't know if there's going to be a season 2. Absolutely hoping for it. We know as season 2 of Loki has actually started filming already. We can't wait to see that. Then, I mean, you mentioned She-Hulk. Y'all get ready for that. Hopefully, we're going to get it early, give you the scoop on what to expect on She-Hulk. Shout out to the entire cast, crew, everyone involved in this series. Perfecto. Big thumbs up from 40 Nerds / Views from the 616. I told y'all it's one of my top 3. It's one of Ben's top 3 as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I just appreciate everything about it, and I'm just really happy. I just feel really relieved and overjoyed with what we received.
Me too. Straight up. Like, I have my complaints, but at the same time, most of my complaints fit into what this show is about. Like, you know, the DOD were going to be goofy villains. The clandestine, I don't know. That was just like, oh, I don't know. Maybe the backstory would help. I don't know. But, you know, I was like whatever. But, I mean, this is the same series that already has a dark dimension, nega dimension. You know, it's like, this is goofiness. You know, it is comedy. So why not?
No country for the clandestine.